Okay, so you know how we do things here, right? You, the learners, toss us a fascinating topic or a book that's really caught your attention.
And we dive deep, no pun intended.
Right. So today, it's all about sex. Amazing sex, to be precise. You guys handed us The Complete Idiot's Guide to Amazing Sex.
A title that doesn't exactly mince words.
Nope, it's straight to the point, which I appreciate. But this book, I mean, it's surprisingly comprehensive. So our mission, and I think it's a good one, is to sift through all that information, extract the real gems, the stuff that's actually useful, and maybe even a few eyebrow-raising facts along the way, give you guys something to think about.
Definitely. We're looking for those aha moments, those insights that can immediately click and maybe even shift your perspective a bit on, well, sex.
Exactly. So we're not going to bore you with every single detail.
Think of it more as a curated exploration.
Exactly. We're hitting the highlights, the stuff that's going to be most relevant and, dare I say, entertaining.
Absolutely. And remember, learners, we want you to walk away feeling informed, maybe even a little inspired, but definitely not overwhelmed.
Right. So let's jump in. The book kicks off by encouraging you to, I guess, take stock, reflect on your own relationship with sex. Kind of like, where are you coming from?
Yeah, it dives right into the heart of the matter by stating that sex is a natural and healthy part of being human. Like, hey, there's no reason to feel ashamed or guilty about it.
Which is a really important starting point because, as the book points out, so many of us have this baggage around sex, right? I mean, think about it. Our upbringing, societal norms, all those messages we've absorbed over the years, they all play a role in shaping our attitudes.
Big time. And sometimes those messages aren't exactly positive or liberating, are they?
Mm.
The book really encourages you to examine those deeply ingrained beliefs, those things we often accept without question. Ask yourself, are any of these beliefs actually holding me back from a more fulfilling sex life now?
Yeah, it's like taking inventory of your sexual mindset. And it can be a little uncomfortable, right? But the book makes the point that sometimes, to move forward, you've got to do a little digging, a little unpacking of those old, potentially outdated beliefs.
And then it goes somewhere that I think is often overlooked in these kinds of conversations. It dives straight into self-exploration. Masturbation, to be blunt.
Right, and it doesn't just present it as, oh yeah, that's normal. It actually frames it as a powerful tool for self-discovery. And I think that's such a valuable shift in perspective.
Absolutely. It's not just about pleasuring yourself. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of your own body, what feels good, what turns you on. And the book argues that this self-awareness directly translates into better sex with a partner.
Right, because if you know what you like, you can communicate that, guide your partner, and ultimately both of you have a more satisfying experience.
Totally. And this leads into another interesting concept. The book introduces your sexpectations.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's about examining your beliefs and values around sex.
I love that term, sexpectations. It's so catchy.
Yeah, it's brilliant, right? So the book asks, how do these expectations, these often unspoken rules we have about how sex should be, how do they affect your experiences and desires?
Like, are your sexpectations realistic? Are they adding to your enjoyment or actually limiting it?
Right, because sometimes we get so caught up in how we think things should be that we miss out on the actual pleasure of the moment.
And if you really want to go deep, the book suggests considering therapy, talking about your sexual past with a trusted counselor.
It's not about dwelling on the past, but about understanding how those experiences might be unconsciously shaping your current attitudes and behaviors.
So once you have a better grasp of your own sexual landscape, where you stand, the book shifts gears to finding compatible partners, and this is huge communicating about sex.
Yeah, I mean, that's really at the core of amazing sex, isn't it? Compatibility and communication, they go hand in hand.
Totally. And the book stresses that compatibility isn't just about that initial spark, that physical attraction. It's much deeper than that.
Right. It's about aligning on those fundamental relationship values. Like, what are your thoughts on monogamy, fidelity? What are your emotional needs within a relationship? These are big questions.
They are. And the book argues that if you're not on the same page with those things, it's going to create tension and ultimately affect the sexual dynamic.
For sure. And then comes the big one, communication. The book is adamant about this. You got to be open and honest about what you like, what you want, and any concerns you might have.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, right?
Exactly. Create a space where you can both feel safe to express yourselves.
And this includes initiating sex, which the book points out can take many forms. It can be verbal, nonverbal, but the one absolute non-negotiable thing is mutual agreement and respect.
Absolutely. And the book really hammers this home. No. Always means no. There's no room for misinterpretation there.
None whatsoever. And that ties into the book's clear stance on consent. Enthusiastic consent. That's the only green light.
Right. It's not about coercion or pressure. It's about both partners being fully on board and excited about what's happening.
Okay, so we've talked about knowing yourself, finding a compatible partner, and communicating. Now let's get into the actual experience of sex. And I think this is where things get really interesting. The book talks about embracing your body and sensuality, which I think is so crucial for feeling good about sex.
Yeah, I mean, our body image plays a huge role in how free and uninhibited we feel sexually.
Right. And the book emphasizes that learning to love and accept your body, just as it is a major step towards feeling more confident and present during sex. It's about shifting the focus from those perceived flaws to the actual pleasure of the experience.
And I think that's such an important point. It's not about striving for some unattainable ideal of beauty. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, flaws and all.
Exactly. And you know what? Confidence is sexy.
It really is. When you project that sense of self-assurance, it's incredibly attractive.
So true. And to really tap into your sensuality, the book encourages exploring your erogenous zones.
Yeah, those areas beyond the obvious ones that are responsive to touch and stimulation.
And it's not just about the genitals, right? The book mentions the neck, the wrists, the back, all these different parts of the body that can evoke pleasure.
And this is where things get fun. It's about experimenting, both on your own and with a partner, to discover what feels good.
It's like mapping out your own personal pleasure landscape.
And then, of course, there's setting the mood. And the book makes the point that this isn't just about the moments right before sex. It talks about this concept of all-day foreplay.
I love that. All day foreplay. So what does that actually look like?
Well, it can be anything from a floody text message during the day to a lingering kiss when you see each other.
Yeah.
It's about building anticipation, keeping that spark alive throughout the day.
And then when it's time for, well, playtime, the book talks about creating a sensuous environment, dimming the lights, candles, music, all those things that can enhance the experience.
It's about engaging all the senses.
Now, are you ready to get into the nitty-gritty? Because the book really goes there when it comes to different forms of sexual activity.
Oh yeah, it covers a lot of ground. And it starts by providing a really clear explanation of both male and female anatomy and the typical phases of the sexual response cycle.
Which I think is so important because it helps you understand what's happening in your own body and what your partner might be experiencing.
Totally. It walks you through those phases: desire, arousal, plateau, orgasm, resolution. Knowing how it all works can really enhance your awareness and maybe even help you identify if there are any areas where you or your partner could experience more pleasure.
And then, building on that foundation, the book revisits masturbation. Again, not just as something that's okay to do, but
Right.
as a valuable tool for learning about your own body and your orgasmic potential.
Exactly. And it even offers specific tips for both men and women. For guys, it talks about techniques for extending the duration of intercourse. And for women, it explores different ways to achieve orgasm.
So it's really empowering, right? It gives you the knowledge and the tools to explore your own pleasure. And speaking of pleasure, let's talk about oral sex. The book doesn't shy away from this topic at all.
No, it dives right in. And it goes beyond just the mechanics. It explores why oral sex can be so enjoyable, both for the giver and the receiver.
Right. It talks about the intensity of the stimulation, the unique sensations, the intimacy of it all.
And it addresses some of the awkwardness or inhibitions that people might feel around oral sex, which I think is really important. It normalizes those feelings.
Yeah, because not everyone is immediately comfortable with everything, and it's okay to have those feelings and to communicate them with your partner.
Absolutely. And the book even gets into some specific techniques, offering practical guidance without being too clinical about it.
And of course, there's the question of spit or swallow, which the book tackles from a safer sex perspective and personal preference.
Right. It provides clear information about the potential risks of STI transmission associated with certain practices and stresses the importance of using protection like condoms or dental dams.
Safety first, always. And then things get even more adventurous. The book dedicates a whole section to sexual positions. Variety is the spice of life, or in this case, sex.
It describes a wide range of positions, from the classic missionary to some more, shall we say, unconventional options. And it explains how different positions can create different sensations and levels of intimacy.
I mean, some of the names are pretty descriptive. The lotus, the wheelbarrow, they really paint a picture.
Yeah, and the book encourages you to experiment to find what works for you and your partner.
And then there's anal sex, which the book approaches with a strong emphasis on safety, communication, and gradual exploration.
It stresses the importance of proper preparation, lubrication, taking things slow, and constantly checking in with your partner to make sure they're comfortable.
It's about being responsible and respecting boundaries.
And it's worth noting that anal sex isn't just about intercourse. It can also involve fingers, oral stimulation, or even toys. The book covers all those aspects as well.
And after the main event, so to speak, the book wisely reminds us that what happens after sex is just as important for building intimacy and connection.
Yeah, it dedicates a whole chapter to pillow talk and emphasizes that afterplay is a crucial time for bonding.
So what does good afterplay look like?
It can be as simple as cuddling, talking, giving each other massages. It's about extending that feeling of closeness beyond the physical act itself.
Right. It's about nurturing that emotional connection. And sometimes the book playfully suggests afterplay can even lead to round two.
Exactly. It's all part of the fun.
Now, we talked about variety in terms of positions, but the book also encourages you to think outside the box when it comes to the location of your sexual encounters.
It gives a surprisingly long list of potential locations, some more predictable, some more adventurous. The point is to break out of your routine, try something new, and have fun with it.
From the bedroom to the kitchen to the great outdoors, the possibilities are endless. And speaking of shaking things up, let's talk about the role of fantasy and erotica in our sexual lives.
The book really normalizes fantasy, stating that it's not only completely normal, but can actually enhance arousal and intimacy.
And it encourages you to think about what your fantasies might reveal about your desires.
It even gives a glimpse into some of the more common fantasies people have, which can be pretty eye-opening.
And then there's talking dirty, which the book acknowledges can be incredibly arousing for many people.
But it also stresses the importance of knowing your partner's boundaries and preferences. What's hot for one person might be a total turnoff for another.
Communication is key, even when things get steamy.
Absolutely. And the book offers some practical tips for exploring dirty talk, like making a list of words and phrases that you find exciting.
It's all about finding what works for you and your partner.
And from dirty talk, we move into the world of erotica, which can include anything from magazines to videos to online content.
The book points out that erotica can be a source of arousal and inspiration, but it also differentiates it from pornography, which often focuses more on the explicit acts themselves.
And it even gives a funny tip for feeling less self-conscious when browsing for adult content. Just imagine you're picking out a movie for a friend's bachelor party.
That's a good one. And then, of course, there's the digital age and the vast world of sexual information and exploration available online.
It's incredible how much access we have to information now, from educational resources to chat rooms to all kinds of erotica.
It's really democratized things in a way, and the book acknowledges that the internet can be a valuable tool for learning about and exploring your sexuality, as long as you approach it with a degree of awareness and discernment.
Absolutely. You've got to be mindful of what you're consuming and where you're getting your information from.
And from the digital world, we move into the tangible world of sex toys. The book has a whole chapter dedicated to this, and it's quite comprehensive.
It covers everything from vibrators and dildos to more specialized items like Benoit balls and cock rings.
It explains the different types of toys, their uses, and the unique sensations they can provide.
And it even offers some practical tips, like how to choose the right size and material for a dildo, or how to use a strap-on harness safely.
And then it ventures into a discussion of a broader range of sexual variations, including cross-dressing, fetishes, group sex, and SM.
And again, the book emphasizes the importance of consent in all of these activities.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it clear that practices like SM are only healthy and erotic when they are based on enthusiastic consent and clear communication of boundaries.
Absolutely. Without that, it crosses the line into something that's not okay.
Right. And the book provides a basic introduction to each of these variations, acknowledging that diverse interests and attractions are a normal part of human sexuality.
It's about being informed and understanding the wide spectrum of what people find pleasurable. And from there, the book introduces the concept of tantric sex, which is a more spiritual and mindful approach to intimacy.
Yeah, it's all about cultivating presence, focusing on the energetic connection between partners, and really slowing things down to savor the experience.
It's a very different paradigm than the more goal-oriented approach to sex that we often see in mainstream culture.
Right. And the book suggests that tantric sex can foster a much deeper and more profound bond between partners.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but life isn't always straightforward, right? We encounter different situations, different challenges, and the book addresses several unique sexual issues, starting with sexual orientation.
It presents being gay, lesbian, or bisexual as natural and healthy variations of human sexuality.
Right. It introduces the Kinsey scale, which is a really helpful way of understanding that sexual orientation isn't black and white, it's more of a spectrum.
And it encourages self-acceptance and understanding, both for yourself and for others.
That it tackles sex during pregnancy, acknowledging that things change, both physically and emotionally.
It offers practical advice on safe and comfortable positions during pregnancy, and explores alternative ways to maintain intimacy when intercourse might not be possible or desirable.
And it doesn't forget about the postpartum period, which can be a challenging time for couples as they adjust to parenthood and try to reestablish their sexual relationship.
The key takeaway is that intimacy evolves throughout life,
Mhm.
and communication is crucial for navigating those changes together.
And finally, the book explores sex and aging for both men and women, recognizing that as we get older, our bodies change.
It talks about menopause and the associated hormonal shifts that can affect a woman's sex drive. And for men, it addresses things like changes in erectile function.
But the overall message is positive. It emphasizes that people of all ages can continue to have enjoyable and fulfilling sex lives.
It's about adapting, communicating, and being open to trying new things.
Okay, we're getting close to the end here, but we can't talk about amazing sex without talking about sexual health.
Absolutely. It's a crucial part of the equation.
And the book dedicates a significant portion to this topic. It starts with a clear explanation of the menstrual cycle and fertile periods for those who are interested in family planning.
Understanding how your body works is so important, especially if you're trying to avoid or achieve pregnancy.
Then it dives into birth control, providing a comprehensive overview of the various methods available.
It covers everything from hormonal options like the pill and the patch, to barrier methods like condoms and diaphragms, to more permanent choices.
It's a really informative guide to help you make informed decisions about what's right for you. And of course, there's safer sex, which is absolutely essential.
The book stresses the importance of safer sex practices and provides detailed information about STIs.
It covers how they are transmitted, the symptoms, and available treatments. It really emphasizes that anyone who is sexually active is potentially at risk, regardless of age, number of partners, or sexual orientation.
And it's clear about the importance of using condoms consistently and correctly.
It's the best way to protect yourself and your partners.
Absolutely. And finally, the book encourages regular self-exams for breasts and testicles and routine checkups with your doctor.
Early detection is key when it comes to so many health issues.
And this brings us to the final section of the book, which focuses on addressing common sexual problems and knowing when to seek help.
Because, let's face it, sexual difficulties are much more common than we often talk about.
Right. And the book normalizes this by discussing issues like low desire, difficulty achieving orgasm, premature ejaculation, and erectile dysfunction.
It provides some initial suggestions and, most importantly, emphasizes the value of sex therapy.
Therapy can be incredibly helpful for working through these issues and achieving a more satisfying sex life.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Complete Idiot's Guide to Amazing Sex, what are some of the key takeaways for you, the learners?
Well, I think the book really drives home the importance of understanding your own sexuality, communicating openly with your partner, and embracing your body and your sensuality.
Absolutely. And of course, prioritizing your sexual health and seeking help when you need it.
It's a lifelong journey, and this book is a great starting point.
So if any of this resonated with you, we highly encourage you to check out the book and explore further. It's full of even more detailed information and practical advice.
And as a final thought, I'd ask you to consider this. What one small change could you make, based on what you've heard today, that might shift your experience of sex in a positive direction?
Maybe it's a new way of communicating with your partner, a different approach to self-exploration, or even just a shift in your mindset.
It's about taking action, experimenting, and finding what works for you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, learners.
Until next time.